Like there's this whole thing where I went through where I was like, I don't know if I'm an entrepreneur because I feel like the stuff that I enjoy doing is the stuff that like people are always telling me I should delegate or this isn't important. This is the operations side of things. But that was the stuff I love putting the puzzle pieces together and figuring out the strategy and how do you make a business work.
What up, people? Welcome to the Doing Everything Different podcast. I'm your host, Devin Lars. And today we have a very, very, very special guest. Excited to have this conversation. We have Sheena Lindahl, who is the co-owner of KURIEO, who is the COO of KURIEO, my right hand. And we have been building and working at this for some time now. And so super excited to kind of chat and talk about partnerships and kind of how we've worked on our partnership and been able to make it work. And I think that it's just going to be a really good conversation. So officially welcome to the show, Sheena.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's same here. I know that it's funny because you've been behind the scenes kind of working on this and seeing the build up of everything. So I thought today's episode would be cool just to kind of talk about our backgrounds and kind of how we even met and your experience with entrepreneurship and just, a little bit about kind of how we met on the tour. We can talk about that. Talk about a little bit about your background and your experience in entrepreneurship.
Awesome. So I guess it all starts right after college. I launched the Extreme Entrepreneurship Tour, which was a tour bringing young entrepreneurs to college campuses all across the country. And our goal was to just really show all of the amazing things that were being done by young people, that business had a lot behind it. It wasn't just all about making money, but it was also about how you could make a difference, how you could have a vision for something and turn it into reality. And there were just a lot of people doing really cool things. So we thought it'd be really cool to show those stories. And so we got a bunch of schools on board and we got a bus, we wrapped the bus and started driving all around the country. And I think by the time we wrapped up the tour, we had done a few hundred events in, I want to say like 43 states. And you were a speaker on that tour. So that's kind of where it all started. And then we moved into also celebrating those stories of young entrepreneurs. So we had an Impact 100 event where we were bringing the country's top young entrepreneurs, 35 and under. We partnered with the White House, the United Nations, and did these celebrations to show what it meant to be an entrepreneur and to show people how realistic it was to go after their dreams and expose them to what was out there.
I love it. And from just a user perspective of it, from going to the tour, I remember it was in 2012, I want to say. And a guy that I was working with, shout out to Rick Ulrich, told me about this tour, this event it was going to be at Chabot College. And we were we started our business in 2008. So 2012, we kind of had some experience in business. So I remember I went and went to the actual event and I was just blown away because I remember how you guys organized the event was so different than anything that I have ever been to. Having speakers and having entrepreneurs come and kind of share their story and talk about the challenges and the journeys. And, it was very high energy. EJ was, emceeing the event that I went to. And so it was just a really cool experience. And I think that from that event, I ended up going and introducing myself to EJ, and we stayed in contact. And you guys had another speaking event or another tour event that literally the next day at like the College of Alameda or something like that. So he invited me and I went there and I was like, man, I would love to do this, of just kind of sharing my story of entrepreneurship and all of those different things. And we just stayed in contact. And I remember he then invited me to the tour. So it's interesting seeing those different perspectives of like from building a business, right? And like seeing the inner workings and all the ugly stuff about it and all the things that, that come with it versus like the end users experience side of things. So I think it's just really cool when our kind of stories connected to be able to see it from a different perspective. Like I didn't see it the same way you saw it because I was looking at it from a different angle. So I thought that was a really um, unique way of how we kind of met on the tour.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really amazing how much I think just the experience of entrepreneurship is similar, because I know we've talked about like your early days of entrepreneurship as well, and growing the business. It's amazing how similar I think the paths are, and like the different types of challenges that people run into. Like there's such a um, you feel really alone in it when you're
Mm-hmm.
going through the ups and downs, but it's kind of crazy how similar the experience is, no matter what industry you're in, no matter like, kind of how you're going about it. There are just all of these really universal experiences that entrepreneurship has. And I think we bonded a lot over that when we were first connecting too.
100%. I think people don't even realize too sometimes of how similar of journeys there are, like the challenges that you face and just the struggles of stuff, right? Like having to, manage teams and cash flow and projects and things going wrong and different challenges. And they may look different, but it's the same kind of, I think, mindset and same kind of um, like frame of thinking that you have to use and apply no matter what it is in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And even just like like the entrepreneurial experience of like, okay, do I go after this idea? Or am I going too far off track? Should I like scale back and come back here? Or am I missing like this huge opportunity? And I mean, yeah, there's just so many things. And yeah, it's crazy how, when you're starting off, especially, it's that vulnerability of like telling people when you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right, like I'm doubting
Mm-hmm.
myself, I'm getting a little insecurity here. That's really hard to share, because like there's this like kind of like more like fake it till you make it kind of thing, where you want to look good. You don't want to be like, oh, I don't know if I've got this right now. And you have those moments where you're really feeling like, I don't know if I've got it. So I think, like that was one of the things that we really wanted to do with Impact, is really build that community so that people had people they could share with. Because I mean, you don't want to go tell your customers when like you're starting off
Right.
and you're like, oh, that I'm kind of like nervous. I'm excited, but nervous about this project. Employees, you want to like make sure that they feel solid in where you're going. So to have an entrepreneurial community where you can share, hey, this is where my challenge is right now. That's kind of a neat piece too. And that was something that I think maybe that's where I really started to understand that no matter how successful somebody is, they are facing a challenge that is equal in size to their success, because the challenges, they don't
Mm-hmm.
go away. And so like that kind of normalized it for me, was from hearing all of the different stories that were out there, that the challenges were part of the game. It's how you face those challenges and how you kind of show up to them that determines, can you go on to the next level and get that next level challenge. And just start to enjoy the ride, instead of feeling like, hey, there's something wrong with me, or there's something wrong with my business.
100%. Yeah, I mean, we talk about this all the time, right? I mean, we have these these conversations daily of just as the business has grown, and even just as Kurio has been scaling and growing, it's we've been met with new challenges, stuff that we haven't dealt before. And I think you're right. New levels, new devils, and so it's like every new level is comes with another, like you said, another challenge, and it is about the mindset and how you address it. Now, I think so. I want to go back to from kind of initially, even how we started to work together and how Meta started, and then thinking about the introduction and how EJ, and we can talk about that too. So, what made you want to start Meta, and what was that like?
Yeah, and for clarity, since Facebook went and stole Meta from me,
Oh, I know, huh? I forgot. I didn't even think about it. That's
so
crazy.
between Impact and Kurio, it was Meta Consulting that I'd started, and that was pre Facebook going for the Meta name. Um,
100%. So shout out to you.
and that okay, so what was going on with me there was Impact, like it had kind of run its course. It was like I had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life that like the hustle and the push and the make it work that I had all through Impact, I realized I just needed to kind of take a step back. I was getting really burnt out. And so I kind of stepped back for a little bit and um, realized that like what I loved about Impact was the building the business part. I really loved not necessarily like there's this whole thing where I went through where I was like, I don't know if I'm an entrepreneur because I feel like the stuff that I enjoy doing is the stuff that like people are always telling me I should delegate or this isn't important. This is the operations side of things. But that was the stuff I love putting the puzzle pieces together and figuring out the strategy and how do you make a business work. So Meta was me kind of like coming to terms with like there is this thing that I really like to do, and I've sort of written it off as something that is lame and not important and a really
Mhm.
stupid gift to have, to embracing it and then deciding that this is actually a really cool thing and could be pretty useful. So
Mhm.
then I started to I wanted to explore how could I support businesses that needed that operational side of things as a way to go through business in that way.
Yeah, it's crazy. So you started Meta. We had met each other a couple times on the tour because it was mainly your team that I was dealing with and working with on a day-to-day kind of standpoint. And so I think that like what was interesting about that is I was in a place where I was pretty much doing everything on my own. I had a couple employees, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I'm not an operational organizational type of person. I'm more of like see the vision, marketing, get it done and figure it out along the way. And so I remember I would always tell EJ who was the MC of the tour and now a good friend of mine, one of my best friends. And I was always telling him because he started a business and he had a business partner and they kind of balanced each other out, right? So his business partner does all the logistics and the operations of stuff, and then EJ is the visionary and sees kind of all of the day to day. And I was just like, man, I need my Michael, right? Like I need that person in my life. And I would always tell EJ that I was just very like envious of that because I'm like, damn, like I feel like I'm doing this all by myself, and I feel like I can really take this to the next level, but I just don't have the support. And I remember I was walking to Starbucks, shout out to Starbucks, and I was getting some coffee and I was talking to EJ and he was like, "Oh, Sheena's starting this consultant. You should reach out to her." And I was like, just from seeing our kind of interactions and stuff like that, I was like, I would love to, but I don't really have the budget right now. We're still trying to like figure stuff up. The business was a mess back then. It was just so unorganized. It was the business before KURIEO. So it was just we had our own in-house screen printing manufacturing facility and all this stuff. And it was just, I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I remember he just said, just call her to have a conversation. And I remember I did. We set up a call and we had a conversation. And I was a little uh, reluctant to even like explain all this stuff because I was kind of embarrassed of like, we're in a place right now where I'm like, I don't know how we're gonna organize all of this stuff and make it. So it was just kind of embarrassing also to just kind of talk about and to open that up with someone. And I just remember made me feel super comfortable. You're like, look, I get it, I understand. You made me feel like I wasn't alone because before that, it wasn't like I had a bunch of entrepreneurial friends in my life that had went through it. So it kind of feels like you're alone and on this journey by yourself. And these challenges are unique to you, kind of like what we talked about in the beginning. And I just remember you coming in and from the jump, it was just, I learned so much about, you came and just really helped me tremendously of just kind of figuring out stuff and like understanding logistics and like, okay, how do we get from point A to point B? Like, what is cash flow? Like, I didn't know any of that stuff. And so, we started to work together um, back then. And ever since then, it's just been an incredible partnership as we started to kind of um, deepen our relationship and how we operate and the type of work that we do. And so, I think I've told you this a bunch of times, but I think just from that first time, that was such a big impact. I remember you did like that flow, or not the flow chart, but you put something in Excel of like the cash flow of everything. And I was like blown away. I was like, what is this? Like, I didn't know this existed. And so it was a really cool experience just to, um, just have that experience with you and have somebody that was like, oh, I felt seen and understood, and like not like I'm like something's wrong with me.
Mm. Yeah, I think, what I remember about that time. So, like, I mean, I remember EJ connecting us too. And like, I think it's funny because I think we both had kind of similar experiences of like, he was saying like, hey, you can reach out to Devin and he can help you with your branding for this. And I
Mm,
was like, oh, like, I don't know if I have the money to invest in this. I'm just getting started in this whole area. And and so like we did that, like that kind of trade of services. And that was neat because I think we got to experience a little bit of like
mm,
each other's magic in that. Like, oh, Devin's really good at this. And oh, I can contribute in this way. And I feel like that's something that's been like the way like our skills complement each other are kind of like just like so on point. And that's been something that's really really cool. But also I think having both gone through that like business
mm,
beforehand and like recognizing where our limits were and knowing what we wanted to create next, like in that first business, it was like, okay, how can I like give the sense that I know what I'm doing when I'm kind of learning my way. But by the time we connected, that wasn't there anymore. I was like, no, I want substance. I want to do something really meaningful. And I don't want to like pretend I know something that I don't know. And I don't want to like be trying to take on these skills that I'm actually like not good at. Like I stuff that maybe
mm.
I could get buy-in, right? Like I could force it. But wouldn't it be amazing if I could just do the stuff that I love? And wanting that as well, like for the people that I was working with. And I think what's really cool is that's what it became. Like it really, I think the way that our collaboration evolved was really, and I've shared with you before, like it just like it's like building sandcastles when I was a kid. Like it's just fun. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
this is like the experience of being able to do what you love doing and knowing that you've got a partner on the other side who loves doing the stuff that you don't want to be doing, that you're not brought more alive by. It allows you to get more and more alive every single day.
That balance is so important, and so like how our collaboration evolved is, yeah, I forgot about that, right? We did the trade of services, and you're right. I didn't even think about that because that was kind of like a preview. It was like a preview to what we're doing now, and I think what was really interesting about that time was it was like I said, it was one of the first times that I felt like I had help in a real meaningful way, and like somebody that I could trust and rely on, and be transparent and be vulnerable in terms of like, okay, I don't know how to do this, and this is uncomfortable, but I'm going to share it with you because this is what it is, and this is where we are. And I think what had happened from there is our collaboration started off as just a contractor, right? You were a contractor for us, and we were just kind of going back and forth and building that up. And I think it got to a point where we just worked really well together. And like you said, we balanced everything out. There's something that we say in our agency from just like our whole team is that we are like the Avengers, right? Everybody has their superpower, and everybody now, as we're starting to really grow and the team is able to now have focuses. Like before, it was like everybody, four of us had to do everything. And so now, as we're growing and the team has expanded, people have like specialties, so they can really focus on their superpowers, and like you said, be able to do the stuff that they're really good at and that they enjoy. And there's somebody else on the team that's able to do something that they're good at that they enjoy. And it's like you said, building these sandcastles. It's really fun, and it's really like Tetris and putting all of the pieces together. And I think that that's something from a standpoint that I've learned, and we've applied this to our agency even when we hire, is start off with a contractor relationship, right? See if it works, test it out, see how well you guys work together, see the personalities and how it meshes with the team, see how effective it is, because there's been a lot of times we've brought in contractors that it hasn't worked, and we're just like, okay, this isn't a good fit. And so I think that that's been something that we started from the foundation of there that we continue to put in place now as we hire. Sometimes we just have to hire and we don't contract people out. But I think for some of the big key roles, we've started with contractors and it's evolved from there. And I think that that was something we didn't even intentionally do, but I think it's worked really well for us, and we've been able to kind of duplicate that.
Yeah. I think that's like, it also like pulls in this whole other element of what makes a team work. And I think the Curio team is just like literally the most amazing team that I've ever seen in action together. It truly is Avengers. And I think that it's because it's not just the skills, right? Like, and like we were talking about like how our
Mm-hmm.
skills complement and everything, but I think it's so much more than the skills that comes into how does the team work together? Because there's like, are the underlying values aligned? Is there like, is is the energy there? Like there's this whole other like layer that comes in to say like, is this person a good fit, and are they going to fit into the culture of the team and everything? And I think, yeah, I mean, I think that like it's the day-to-day work, but it's also how do you go through challenges, how do you deal with it when there's like a something that's not going according to plan. Like I think that the way I see our team come together both in the good times and in the challenging times, it's like it's really amazing because it's not about the ego and am I going to look good, but rather about, okay, what do we need to do and how can I contribute to a solution here? And I think that's how it's always been because that's the type of people that fit within this group.
Yeah, no, 100%. That is more important than the skill sets, and we've talked about this before, and we've gotten um challenged, not challenged on the philosophy before, but we've ran into situations where we tested it out to see if it works. But instead of hiring the best person, it's the person that is going to, like you said, fit the culture, that is going to be a team player, that doesn't have an ego, that's able to kind of come together when, like you said, when those challenges arise. And even being able to hire or bring someone that's less quote unquote talented in that discipline, but being able to understand that that person can evolve and to grow, to develop those skills. And I think that that is something that is so important to what we're building. And I think it is something that, and it kind of translates to, I mean, not kind of, it translates to our clients as well, right? Because we've turned away clients that we were like, this just not going to be a good fit. It's just not, it's just either going to be too much of a problem. The money's not going to be worth it. Culturally, it's just not going to be a good fit, or it just doesn't like, it just doesn't mesh in what we're trying to do. And I think that has been what has been special too about Curio, is not only the team, but then also the amazing clients that we've had. I mean, we've been able to work with the biggest brands in the world with zero salespeople, with no sales team at all, just word of mouth relationships, building and setting everything up. And so that has been like really cool to kind of see that dynamic. I was just talking to a vendor, and they were just raving about Kinsey, right? And just like how good Kinsey is. And just, yeah, we just have all stars. Like literally our whole team is full of all stars. And it's really cool to see the culture of it built.
Yeah, I 1,000%. 1000% agree with that. I think it's interesting too, like, when you hold a vision, right? Like, so we have this idea of what Kurio can be, and like how everybody can come together and how we can work with clients that we like and work with vendors that we like and work with a team that everybody's just like excited to come into. And I think it's really neat to kind of like hold that vision, but allow kind of like the things that come up to guide it too. So like you're
Mm-hmm.
right. There have been clients that have come on board where it's just been like, ooh, this is like, it feels like a stretch every time we have to have a call. It just doesn't feel like a good fit. Or vendors where we've had that. And so then instead of like being attached to, we have to go this path, we have to make it work, it's been that like kind of bless and release, like, okay, this doesn't feel like it's right. So where could that like guide us on the path? And I think kind of just like trusting that it's hard to trust. It's like, it's one of those things that I think um, takes a little bit of courage to
Mm-hmm.
say, this is the piece that's important. The quality of the experience, the quality of the journey is just as important, if not more important than the destination. And I think coming back to that as a principle makes everybody kind of able to work as their best self. It really transforms. So when you're pushing and you're forcing and you're trying to make something work versus just going with the flow of it and enjoying that process, you do a totally different quality of work.
100%. I mean, prime example of how we got through COVID together. It's like our team was very small, but there was so much uncertainty out in the world, right? Those are those things that you can't really control.
Yeah.
And I remember our conversations through that were just like, okay, let's really knuckle down and focus on the things that we can control because the outside world is crazy right now. And we don't know what's going to happen. And we just said, we're going to take responsibility for what we can do and what we can fix. And by doing that, I mean, that was a big test for us. I mean, that was one of the biggest tests that we've went through so far in terms of how we come together in a middle of like a crisis, and like how are we gonna, like, what is that gonna be in terms of like how do we look at our team and realize like we're all people in this, right? And I think that it's always been that, like, in terms of like it's been bigger than business, right? It just hasn't been about numbers. It's always been about culture and understanding. But I feel like the world kind of increased empathy around stuff in terms of work. It was very like pre-COVID, it was very cut and dry when it came to like business and how you did stuff. It was very rigid. And so I think what it allowed us to do is just really knuckle down, really look at like, okay, what are we doing? How do we look at the best interest of all of the team, and how do we set this up and structure it? And we navigated that so well. And I'm very proud of the work that we did because it set the foundation and the momentum into these last 3 years, right? That was something that we just always said, that's tried and true. Okay, this worked, let's go back to the things that we can control and let the other things kind of work themselves out.
Yeah. I actually love that you brought that up because I was thinking about COVID and how, yeah, that was just such an incredible experience. And I think it really was for me recognizing that like how amazing this company could be. Like I think that was like when I really saw the potential in it. Because it's like, I mean, again, going back to the people, I think the way that I saw you reacting to the challenge inspired me, like the level of integrity, the level of, all right, let's figure out what's like out here and what's in our control, and then going into working on what we have control over, and just focusing on that. And then I think that, like, just kind of like how that goes, like no matter what, like not just in like the challenging times, but there's always, I mean, business is such a reflection of
Mm.
yourself, right? And so, yeah, at that point, like, what did we do? We kind of control, we were like, all right, let's build out the foundations, let's build out the systems, let's get stronger there. But I think also we kind of went into ourselves a little bit too and worked
Mm.
on what stuff was in there that needed to get worked out. And that, on the other side, like the whole process of it was becoming a better leader, becoming a better
Mm-hmm.
company. So it's like how can you as a company go in to like work on what you can control, but then also as a leader go in to work on what you can control. And I think those values are something that I just really resonate with and really inspired me. And I think, being able to collaborate in a team that inspires you to get better, and where the actual process of how do you do stuff is you get better as a person. I mean, it's just gold. It's such a powerful way to approach uh, good stuff and challenging stuff.
So that's interesting because of interesting segue into kind of the decision about our partnership and becoming, a co-owner in it, and how we wanted to set this up and do this full time. How, I mean, I'm assuming that was part of what happened in the decision process of what you thought about, because it was about that time that we were talking about, hey, maybe this is something that we can explore doing full time and being partners in this. And for me, it was like, okay, I have been so independent without partners and all this stuff. And it was like, okay, this is going to be a big adjustment for me as well. So I'm like I was trying to figure out of like, okay, do I want to bring on a partner? Do I want to keep, do this by myself? And then I think that just from, again, what we've done, the integrity, how we navigated the stuff, I felt like we both truly respect each other and respect each other's lane of uh, genius and excellence. And I think that that right there was just like it's just a no brainer. Like I could trust Sheena. Like that was the biggest thing. It's like, oh, I'm worried. Oh, as a partner, you hear all these horror stories from partners and how it always goes bad and south. But I didn't get that. Like that was like we wouldn't get there. We have too much respect for each other, and it's not about the money. That just wouldn't even happen. Like it wouldn't even get there. And so I think that for me, it was a no brainer once I really sat and I thought about it. And it was just like we've had those conversations, and it happened over a course of I think like a year and a half, a year maybe. Did it take 2 years, a year and a half to get done? A year maybe.
Something like that, maybe somewhere between the two.
Yeah. And it was just life stuff, right? Like just trying to figure out and like working out, okay, what is this? What does this look like? But I have to say, like that was 100% one of the best um, professional decisions that I made, because I mean, I tell you this all the time. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. If there's no chance. I mean, the team knows how unorganized I was and just how chaotic it was, and there was no structure around everything. You were able to come and bring infrastructure around stuff, which is the most important thing, because you can have an idea and a vision, but if you don't have the execution and the foundation and the structure to be able to do it, you're not going to go anywhere. And so just the dynamic that it's brought and the amount of respect I have for you and I feel that we have for each other has been um it's been amazing. And I think that this is, you hear these horror stories, but then you hear these partnerships that work. And I think that that is the biggest thing that I learned is like you have to have respect and fully trust the person, and like and just know that like, okay, I'm gonna have the best interest in mind, and it's gonna work out. And granted, like I don't know, there's certain things that people can get into that don't do that, and that might not work for them. But I think for what my experience and what we've learned is just like trust and the integrity of the person. Like I feel, like I said, it was the best professional decision I could have made.
Mm, thank you. Yeah, I mean, same here. I, I really think, when I was thinking about, as you're saying, like that respect, how crucial that is, and how like sometimes it's so hard when somebody thinks different than you, and like the only good partner you're
Mm,
gonna find is somebody who thinks different than you, right? Because you don't need a
yeah.
replica of yourself. It can be hard to like really see the value, like not just like trust that it's there, but like really feel the value and like the landing of what somebody has to bring. And I've always felt that we had that. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
never like like okay, that doesn't make any sense, and why are we doing this? Like there's never been. I've never felt that about any idea or decision that you've had, and then vice versa. I've never felt like anything that I bring up is like, wow, that's crazy. Why would you even think that? Because I think like there is that like that curiosity, that's just the underlying, the trust and the curiosity. So it's like, oh hey, that wasn't how I was thinking about it. Like tell me what you're thinking, and then that gives like the genius of the idea a minute to come out, and then it becomes something that like, oh well great, and here's like a way that that could add on. And I feel like there's something special about that, because I do see a lot of partnerships where even though like the balance is there, there's like a
Mm-hmm.
tension in
Mm-hmm.
that partnership, where it's like, oh, like I why are we doing this? Why are we going in that way? And if only they would just let it go, then it would be like, and especially from like an operation side of things, I think that can sometimes be seen as like holding things back, right? Especially for a visionary who has lots of ideas, who wants to like go really far and go really fast. Like the idea of like putting in structure and infrastructure isn't always an exciting thing. So like for you to be able to see that and be like, hey, this is going to add in this way. And I think then, I've also seen where infrastructure can like turn into like, something that is stuck. So like
Mm-hmm.
knowing that you're on the lookout and you're thinking about what's the next move that we need to make, and that any system that goes into place is going to be something that's evolving and needs to have that flexibility to change, that we don't want to get too stuck in it. I think there really is a seeing of the value in that, and that's part of what that trust and respect kind of evolves into.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree with you. It's I don't know. It's been a fun ride. I think like you said, it's the process and the journey of it. I mean, we've been through so much in these last, several years of just growth, both personally, professionally, just with the team. It's just been really cool to see what we've been able to build, and like the clients and the projects that we've been able to work on, and the scale of the projects, like we've worked on some big campaigns and some big projects. And I think that it's really cool to be able to just look back and reflect on that and just be appreciative of it, right? And the process of how we got there, the process of playing the long game and building the relationships, and always trying to add value to our clients, no matter what the case is, taking losses, to keep the relationship going, taking losses in the beginning to build the relationships. And some of the times it doesn't pan out, and some of the times it does. And it's just the balance of it all. And it's just, there's always going to be something to do. There's always going to be a new mountain to climb. There's always going to be a new contract. There's always going to be a new piece of content. There's always going to be a new something that never changes. And so being able to enjoy the process of it all has really been, I feel like, one of the keys to our success, and not forcing anything, letting things organically go and grow where they want to go, and then being able to move with it with a sense of urgency, but a sense of also knowing that whatever's meant for us is going to be for us, and there's nobody that on this planet that can take it. And so having that type of confidence and that trust in the universe, God, whatever it is that you believe in, I really feel like doors open up, and the universe will test you, right? You'll get tested to see, do you really believe this? And it's just like, once you pass the test, it's like things just kind of open up, doors open up. And it's just been cool. I love this. Every day I wake up and get to like work with people that I really like and really respect, and we get to work on like fun projects. It's been a cool journey.
Couldn't agree more.
I love it. Well, I'm excited about this. Is there anything um, that you want to add in terms of maybe partnerships? I like these conversations. I definitely want to make this multiple part series where we have conversations and stuff like this, because I think this is going to be, I mean, we have so much stuff. I mean, just even the conversations we have on a day-to-day basis, we should start recording, because I feel like there's so much that comes from it in real time and adjustment. So this is, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, awesome. I don't think I have anything
Cool.
else to add.
Well, I love it. It's funny, after this, we're going to record this, and then we have to get back into operations and KURIEO. So we will be talking right after this. But Sheena, thank you again. Like, I really, really mean everything that I said. This has been definitely one of the best decisions professionally that I've made, and it's just been a pleasure and a joy. And I respect you highly, and I appreciate you.
That feeling's so mutual.
Cool. All right. Well, hope you guys have a great day, and we will talk to you soon. Peace.